So there have been some focal points or turning points in warfare, like the rise of drones or the rise of the tank or things along those lines. You're going to see one of those today. Okay, there are 1,270 Russians off the battlefield, only one tank, zero armored fighting vehicles, 29 artillery systems, 55 vehicles and fuel tanks. So I'm not sure why this has gone down, but my guess is the containment of Pokrovsk is part of that. Or not, yeah, the containment of the area around Pokrovsk. It's not Pokrovsk itself, but the salient, the Russian salient going towards Pokrovsk. Okay. Andrew Perpetua's list is about 1 to 1, and that's what it looked like over the last 2 or 3 days now that he's gotten caught up. Ukraine Air Force has reported a large UAV attack overnight. Early this morning, 58 out of 67 Shahed drones were shot down. 6 Shaheeds left the controlled airspace of Ukraine, flying in the direction of Russia, Belarus, and the occupied Luhansk. 3 others were lost. Now, what's interesting about the Shaheeds is this. Now, I showed you this the other day, the impact of objects by Russian missiles and UAVs and rockets. 72% of rockets are attacking civilian objects, and only 27% were attacking non like military objects. But it's not the same with UAVs. Look at this chart. With UAVs, it's only 20% were attacking civilian objects, and 78%, 3,697, were attacking military objects. So Shahed drones are actually more often than not attacking legitimate military type targets, or trying to, but they're also shot down far more easily than the rockets. Okay, let's move on. Okay, in Russia, this train depot near Moscow or in Moscow was on fire. We don't know why, we don't know what caused it, but it's something that you probably ought to be aware of, and we'll find out in a day or two whether it was attacked by something or sabotaged or whatever. Freight train derails in St. Petersburg. Now, I don't know again if this was sabotage or if this was just poor management. Now, what we do know is that the people in charge of the trains are having a hard time keeping things up and running like it's supposed to be. So it could be that simple. But even if that's what's going on, it still contributes to the effort by having other problems elsewhere. Okay, drone hits ammo depot in Russia's Voronezh. And what we see some little pictures. These are stills. I'm not showing video. Russia ammunition storage was targeted there. That's why that's a big plume of smoke. And you can even see this from space, like if you look at this, NASA firm shows multiple thermal anomalies at Russia's Voronezh Oblast, where this ammunition depot was last night. So it's probably a pretty good hit. Now, turning our attention back over to Ukraine, massive explosions now in Kyiv, 2 minutes apart. This was at 8:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was scrolling through and saw what was going on last night while I was just sitting there zoning out, trying to watch a movie. Um, Wreckage of Russian drones found near the Verkhovna Rada building. So these drones were really close to the Capitol. Like, imagine if drones were attacking the U.S. Capitol building, like how that would affect you. That's what just happened last night. But no damage was observed. The official parliament channel confirmed that fragments of a downed Shahed drone were found near the Verkhovna Rada. Okay, switching our attention yet again, the Kursk offensive. Ukraine destroyed another Russian pontoon bridge over the Siem River. So the Russians, so 3 major bridges over the river have been blown, so it's hard to get Russians over the river and to be able to, I mean, you could potentially they could swim or something, but then you don't have the support, you don't have the munitions, you don't have the weapons, you don't, right? So that's a tricky place to be. Now, they keep building these pontoon boats to get men either across or back over, either way, and these pontoon boats keep getting destroyed. Now, this is a big explosion, and there are also these small ones that will take out human beings that are near there as well. Reportedly, this is a video from the Kursk region of Russia. Russian commanders make Russian soldiers destroy their phones so that they don't put military failures online. Well, they could say it's just for operational security, but it's also for that. Okay, Ukraine has stabilized the front near Pokrovsk in Donbass, and I've seen this reported in multiple places, and it seems like it's a legitimate thing that it is. It is at least slowed significantly. It is now Saturday, September 7th, as we are talking about this. And to the degree that they can slow, first frost is supposed to be about mid-September, and then it's going to get muddy and cold. And the more that they can slow this advance toward Pokrovsk before winter, the better off the Ukrainians will be. The AFU used it. Now, this is what I was talking about, the game changer. And it's not the first time, but this is, I think, going to be the wave of the future. And it just mark this time in your head. The AFU used a flying Kalashnikov rifle for the first time against Russia. The AK-47 rifle was mounted on a platform with 4 propellers lifted like a flying drone in the air. Okay, now listen. I'm sure somebody somewhere has done this before. Big weapons tech. I'm sure there are drones that can shoot things down, or not just shoot rockets, but do this. But this is going to, I think, become pervasive because the Ukrainians have to fight with what they have, and what they don't have is people to expend. So they're going to create a system like of doing this kind of thing to go after their enemies. Now, it can be done by the other side. They're going to start doing the same thing as well. And so it's going to be drone warfare hunting people versus drone warfare hunting people. And that's where we're going to be going. It's just like the rise of tanks, just like the rise of drones, just like the rise of rockets. I was talking to someone the other day, A-10 Warthogs. Basically, they're out of business because missile tech is such that A-10s can't really do what like if you gave Ukraine all these A-10s without all the rest of the support that would need to go be involved, they'd get shot down very quickly because of missile tech. Same kind of, we're at that kind of inflection or turning point right now, in my estimation. Western decision-making continues to artificially suppress Ukraine's overall long-range strike capability, according to the ISW. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stated on September 6 at Ramstein that no specific weapon would be a game changer. Now there he sounds like a politician, not like a soldier. None would be a game changer for Ukraine, and that allowing Ukrainian forces to use U.S. provided weapons for long-range strikes against Russian military targets within Russia would not change the status of the war. So he's right, but he's wrong. And they go on and say this: Austin is correct that no single weapon will change the course of the war, but his comments ignore how weapon systems and their accompanying rules of engagement affect Ukrainian capabilities, and that changes in capabilities can change the course of the wars. That's right. That assessment is correct. Austin's just trying to appease the Biden administration that's appeasing Russia, right? And that's what this amounts to. Okay, by all indications, Putin has decided to fight with the civilian population of Ukraine, realizing that he cannot fully win on the battlefield. Therefore, he's going to attack cities with drones and missiles as much as possible, deliberately striking residential buildings. And again, if we go back over to this chart over here, the missiles are 72% of the missile strikes. Rocket strikes are targeted at civilian infrastructure. So that's what he's talking about. Therefore, he's going after attacks on cities with drones and missiles as much as possible, deliberately striking residential buildings, hospitals, educational institutions, civilian infrastructure. I think we should expect more strikes on civilian objects. Putin believes that he will achieve his goals this way. In addition, he's well aware that each destruction of infrastructure facilities makes the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine more difficult and longer, delayed economic recovery, and the return of the people. Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. Now, Iran is transferred. I'm sorry, I should have said Iran. People correct me, and then old habits die hard. It's like oblast as opposed to oblast, which is the correct pronunciation. Iran has transferred more than 200 ballistic missiles to Russia. Terrible. But what are we going to do about it? Nothing. We'll say strong words and then move on with life, because that's what we do. U.S. alarmed by Iranian missiles transfer to Russia. The U.S. has expressed concern over reports that Iran has delivered short-range ballistic missiles to Russia. Okay. But you remember when the U.S. said that there would be consequences if North Korea gave Russia missiles? Well, I mean, this is where we are right now. There'll be consequences, North Korea. There'll be consequences, Iran. Who's next? I mean, who wants to get in line with that? Because we'll just say strong words and do nothing. Ben Hodges said the key to victory for Ukraine is not the amount of money, equipment, or ammo we give them. It's our commitment to actually giving them all they need to defeat Russia and restore Ukrainian sovereignty. That's in the best interest of the West. And he's right. So today is Ukrainians' Military Intelligence Day. The work of the Ukrainian military intelligence is not visible, but they disrupt the enemy's plans and ensure our army's success where the aggressor does not expect it, on the front line or deep in the rear. These guys, they're working. Ukrainian military intelligence really has to hustle. Worst nightmares for occupiers, unmanned system forces command. I think this is the wave of the future, just like Space Force is going to be the wave, and what we know about cyber warfare, that's going to be a wave of the future. But certainly drones are, at least in the near term, going to be as dominant as tanks were in World War II. And then we're going to end with this. How do we ever forgive? We never attacked. We never conquered. We want to live and go our own way. Russia is the ultimate villain. And I can't show you this under the sensitive content, but if I were to click show, you see somebody over a casket of a younger human being who it should not have died. And but this is a question that Ukraine's going to have to wrestle with, but now is not the time for that. Right now, the time is to prevail and win the war. All right. Thank you for your time, folks. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.